3 weeks ago, I quit my strategy consulting job, having spent 8 months in it, to go full-time in on content creation. And trust me, for that whole 8 months, I'd be going back and forth with pressure of whether I should stay in this prestigious job or whether I should pursue a life that I really wanted to. Combined with my friends and my parents telling me it was stupid, along with not really having a backup plan. But to make matters worse, I didn't even have a revenue stream to go to. But even despite that, there were 5 things that I realized made quitting my 9 to 5 a whole lot easier. And welcome back to my channel. My name's Sol, and I'm an ex-strategy consultant, and I now share tips and tricks on how to find a fulfilling career that you love, as well as live a happier and more confident life. I post 2 videos every single week, and I'd love if you can join me on the journey, so drop a subscribe if that sounds interesting. But without further ado, let's get into 5 things that helped make quitting my strategy consulting job a whole lot easier. And the first one is a financial cushion. Now, that may seem obvious, but some people think that they can just quit their job without any financial cushion. And while this may seem obvious, you'd be surprised the amount of people I've met who didn't have a big enough financial cushion to make entrepreneurship work. When I was living out in Bali, I met a few people who really only had 1 or 2 months actual savings left up. And that causes 2 big problems. First, the amount of stress that those people had because they were constantly worrying about saving money and also where they were going to earn money just meant that their whole quitting their job experience was miserable. But the second is that they took quick wins when they were starting entrepreneurship to try and make money quickly versus playing the long game and making sensible business decisions for the long-term health of their entrepreneurial ventures. I see that, for example, in content creation, where I'm getting offered small deals here and there, which luckily, because I've got a financial safety net, I'm not taking. But I've seen small creators suddenly sign up to work with brands that don't align to their overall vision because they just need the money to keep going. And I saw one of my favorite YouTubers, Nisha, talk about having a creative thinking fund. And you really want at least 6 months of safety to know that you can dedicate yourself and not have the pressure of having to earn money for that time period. Building that up while you're in your job is one of the most sensible things you can do. And I gave up alcohol and stopped going on nights out as a main way that I built up that 6-month fund. I've also now moved back in with my parents, which has extended my runway even further, so I can live for about 9 to 12 months in the current state that I am in. Building up that financial cushion is the best thing you can do while still in your 9 to 5, and it might involve some sacrifices to your lifestyle, but it makes leaving the job so much nicer. And the second thing that I did before quitting my 9 to 5 is having a stable routine for at least 3 months after leaving. And this goes back into the example I spoke about with the people that I met in Bali who were traveling around all the time and also trying to work out what they were doing in their life. This is a major warning sign because I saw them have breakdown after breakdown because all of a sudden you're having to work out what you're going to do with your life, as well as just dealing with life admin things like where you're going to stay in the next few nights, what you're going to do for food. You don't want to be dealing with life admin tasks at the same time as personal life decisions. Some of those breakdowns that they had on the other side of the world were awful, and that's why I moved back in with my parents, because I know that every day I can wake up with a fixed routine of knowing that I can work towards my entrepreneurial dreams. In fact, I'd even planned to remote work with my 9 to 5 job for 2 months in Lisbon, and then quitting my job meant that I cancelled that trip because I knew that by going to Lisbon, having to make new friends and start a new routine, it was going to distract me and probably create a lot more stress in my life, as well as having this entrepreneurial thing that I was trying to build. So having complete stability for 3 months after you quit your job is going to make you feel much better and much more likely to be able to build out that entrepreneurial venture than if you're all over the place traveling the world or moving around. And the third thing I did before quitting my 9 to 5 was having my North Star completely defined. In other words, I nailed my why. Why was I looking to leave the 9 to 5? Why did I want to start entrepreneurship? Because trust me, from a state now, I know that the amount of times you question why you're doing it, you have to have the most solid reasoning as to why you quit your job. And the one thing that I recommend for this is get deep into your self-help. I read The 4-Hour Work Week and The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, and these 2 books gave me the strongest why because they told me about how entrepreneurship, owning businesses, and having control of my time was going to be the most important thing to having a fulfilling and a happy life. And for some people that wasn't true, but for me that was what I was looking for. But I needed those tangible books that I could go back to and read to know why I was doing what I was doing. And those nice little self-help books also give you some great quotes. And for example, this one, "The fear of regret is worse than the fear of failure," is something that really stuck in my head. I watched these motivational videos where they interviewed people in their 50s and their 60s about what they regret not doing. And I really remember this one guy talking about how he had this dream in his 20s to be an actor, and instead he chose the safe career going down the 9 to 5, and he regretted it to this day. And for me, having those quotes, having that example from that interview, and also having the books gave me a really well-defined North Star, which gave me conviction in making decisions when I was leaving. This helps with what I was talking about in the past, with that fear and that stress that you can get when you're feeling lost, when you've lost that stability of that 9 to 5. Building building up that bank and that motivational reserve that gives you that North Star is a definite for me before quitting your 9 to 5. And the fourth thing that I would do before I quit my 9 to 5 is have an idea where you're going. Although I said at the start of the video that I had no revenue stream, I did have a pretty good idea of where I wanted to take my entrepreneurship. I actually had spent a bit of time going into content creation before starting the strategy consulting job, and I had kept it going through it. So I knew that when I left, what I wanted to do was in that space. If the day you walk out of your office, you have absolutely no idea where you want to go, this is another thing that's going to cause you so much stress. And I had actually spoken to someone who had quit their 9 to 5 job, gone back to live with their parents, and had no idea what they were going to do. Again, this can make you feel so lost, and I can't really imagine how someone would feel if you literally had no idea on the next day after quitting your job what you're going to do with your life. I also had a rough idea where I was going to get money. For example, I know that in the short term, I can make some money in sales jobs. I can also get some marketing work with some companies, and also I can always fall back on my consulting skills to do freelance. These things all help to build that stability underneath you when you're chucked into the unknown. So make sure you have a good idea where you're going and a few ideas as to how you're going to support yourself while you get those ideas going. And the last thing is building an amazing network. And from my research on this topic and speaking to other people, this is the least spoken about thing, and I can't understand why. Building a network full of advisors and mentors is one of the best things that I did because it gives you access to people who have already done it. Being able to speak to people who quit their 9 to 5 to go into entrepreneurship has helped me to learn from their mistakes and also take the things that they did really well and replicate them. One of my mentors, for example, has been so useful in telling me how to get quick money so that I can build that stability underneath me. And he's even been able to put me in contact with people who might be able to give me those opportunities. I built that up while I was at my 9 to 5 job, and I was telling people outside my company that I was planning on leaving, and they were putting me in touch with people who had done it before, which gave me a massively grounded feeling because I had this network of people who I could ask questions from. If you don't know anyone who's done it before, you're going to feel so much more lost, and that stability that I keep talking about won't be there. One of the things that I've invested in is a community full of people who are online business owners, and I have calls with them 3 times a week, which is such a nice community to be involved in, which replaces that community that you get from your 9 to 5 office work. I like this quote that you are the 5 people you surround yourself with, and if you don't have people in your close network who have done this before, then it's going to feel seriously isolating. So trying to build that network before you leave your job is going to make leaving your job a lot easier. And they're the 5 things that I did before I quit my 9 to 5 that make me feel a lot better while I'm here. And on the note of advisors, I did actually make a video on how you can build your advisor and mentor network. So catch that video above, and I will see you in the next video.